Magi season 3. Are you gonna tell me to stop dreaming? No, I'm never gonna stop dreaming because the demand is there. The demand is there and it's possible. Welcome to Psyche's Thoughts. My name is not Psyche, it's Elizabeth. You're here, I'm here, we are here because I've decided every day I'm gonna get on here and share a random thought with you guys. And today's random thought is about Magi. I know I've been MIA, but I hope this video makes up for that because you're only getting one video today. I really owe y'all 3, but you're only getting 1. And it's about Magi. Okay. If you do not know me, to know me is to know that Magi is my favorite anime. Magi is my favorite manga. Magi is my everything. I'm Mr. Sterling. Everything. His silly rabbit. You know, Magi is my silly rabbit. I'm Magi's silly rabbit. You know, Magi changed my life. I was there for like the last 3 or 4 arcs, I want to say. You know, in the manga. I'm talking about like I was reading it week to week. And you know, I've only ever done that for like a handful of series. But let me tell you something. I've done it for Demon Slayer. I've done it for a couple other series. Magi's the only Magi's the only manga rather that I go back to reading it and I still feel the same way I felt reading it like week to week. You know, especially like the last like everything post time skip. So yes, I'm not gonna be like too heavy on spoilers and everything that goes on in the manga, but I am going to reference certain arcs and things. So if you don't read the manga, if you've never read the manga rather, I mean, you're probably not gonna know what I'm talking about, but I'm not gonna bring up plot points specifically. Okay. Anyway, Maji's just that good to me. And ever since I was a little girl, Maji ended when I was in middle school. Yeah, I've always wanted a season 3. But now that I'm older, I know that not just any season 3 would do. You know, when you're younger, you're like, oh yeah, same. It doesn't matter. I just want season 3. No, not just any season 3 would do. It needs to be stellar. It needs to be perfect. So here's how we get Magi season 3, but not just any Majins. I was gonna say Majin Buu, not just any Majin. Ugh, that's all I want to say. Not just any Magi season 3, but the Magi season 3 and onwards. Okay, that looks like I was going to doing something else. I wasn't doing that. Anyway, what's Magi? Some of you guys may not even know what Magi is, but before I go any further, I have to give you a quick rundown about Magi. I'm talking about Magi, the Labyrinth of Magic. It's a manga series by Shinobu Otaka, which received also a 2-season anime adaptation. It's a fantasy adventure series that is based off of 1001 Nights. It's loosely inspired, very loosely inspired by 1001 Nights. If you don't know what 1001 Nights is, think like Arabian Nights, like think like basically Grimm's fairy tales for like Arab speaking nations. Aladdin, Sinbad, Alibaba, right? Think of like those type of characters. If you've ever, I'm sure you've heard of 1001 Nights. It's a classic. If you haven't read 1001 Nights, you need to read 1001 Nights. Anyway, don't let that fool you. Anyway, let's not get caught up in that. This story is so deep. It goes incredibly deep. I'm talking about Magi talks about fate. It talks about free will. It talks about class, inequity, spirituality, war, power, and what it means, what it really means, and what it really takes to shape the world. The characters are layered. The world's building, rich, amazing, and the themes. You don't expect the themes that you see in Magi going in, but they just 2 seasons of anime were made and then it stopped right before the story actually starts, in my opinion. You know, right before the most complex and compelling parts, which is exactly why everyone that has watched Magi, everyone that has read Magi knows a season 3 is needed. It's needed. It's needed because not everyone reads, but everyone watches. And you guys need to see what's going on with magi. Now, if you know about magi, you probably have given up on season 3. You're probably like, why is this girl on here making this video? She's crazy. And I probably am. But no, never lose hope. I feel like a lot of people have lost hope on Magi season 3 because it's just been so long. But I say never. I say it's never been too long. If Bleach can come back after any time, then Magi can certainly come back. Now, of course, Bleach had way more demand than Magi has ever had. It's like comparing apples to oranges in terms of popularity, but Magi does not need to be big 3 level to come back. It just needs to be big. It just needs the right type of demand. Do you understand? Okay. This is how we generate that demand. You know when I'm passionate when I start making crazy faces. Anyway, there's going to be like 2 parts to this video. One is how we generate demand, and the second is how we make sure how we handle the demand, right? How we make sure the demand produces the best Magi anime ever made. But let's start with how we generate demand. There are 3 methods that they need to be used in tandem together. Discourse. Let's talk about Magi. Let's start talking about Magi. Character analysis, and not just talking about Sinbad and power scaling Sinbad. I'm talking about characters that you really have to watch in order to know what people are talking about. I'm talking about, let's break down Masur. Let's break down Jafar. Let's talk about Aladdin. Let's talk about, man, getting into the real nitty gritty. Okay, arc breakdowns. When people see you talking, see us, because I'm right there. I'm going to start the campaign. When people see us talking with so much passion about these characters and depth, they're going to ask, wait, oh my gosh, who are these people? What am I missing? And you're going to tell them, watch Magi. And they're going to watch Magi. And they're going to be like, this can't be what had this person glazing these characters, this arc so bad. And you're going to tell them, read Magi. And they're going to read Magi. And they're going to join in on the campaign. Hello. Demand generated. Okay, let's go to method 2. Method 2 is going to be the best method. Okay, I know y'all saw that. Floating. There's something flying in my room. And when I catch it, it's going to die. But anyway, method 2 is ignorance. What a great segue. Ignorance. Let me tell you something. Do you want to know why? One Piece is so great? You want to know why people like talking about One Piece? Because of agenda, because of the ignorance. Let's take 1 page out the agenda playbook. Let's start rage baiting. Let's start power scaling. Obscene amounts of power scaling that don't make sense. Let's start pushing narratives. Let's start doing the most. And guess what's going to happen? People are going to want to be on the joke. They're going to watch Magi to understand what's happening. And then they're going to fall in love with it, just like we did, and start generating more agenda. Demand generated. Hello. That's going to be fun. It's going to be so much fun. Because when we start putting characters like Hakuryu on Fraud Watch, oh my gosh. Fraudryu can feed nations if we do it right. Hakuryu's a fraud. That's my baby though, but like, anyway. Method 3, optics, edits. How many of us want Magi back? I would say it's probably like a few thousand, maybe even 100,000 plus, right? But here's the thing. It don't take 100,000 of us to make the edits. It only takes 10. Really. It only takes 1 good edit. But if we get 10 people, at least 10 people to make high quality Magi edits, I promise you, that's going to generate enough demand for these studios to start salivating over the IP. Go on, go on TikTok, go on TikTok right now and search Magi and look at the likes on the edits. The demand is already there. We just need the content to find them. Hello? 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 Now we get into what we do with the demand, right? Who gets the IP? So once the demand is loud enough, studios are going to come fighting for that IP, right? And this is what I need to be very clear with everybody so we're on the same page. Just because it's been a long time doesn't mean we're going to accept scraps. That's why we can accept scraps. It can't go to just anybody. It can't. I talk with my hands too much. We have to understand that everything that's been covered in the anime so far is essentially just like the exposition of Magi. So it's not the nucleus. It's not the meat and potatoes, you know what I mean? The rest of the story is the best of the story. And whoever gets that has to understand that and be serious about their job. Okay? So these are my requirements. Now, in the comments below, share your requirements. People that know about anime studios, people that know who really know how to get down and animate, let me know something because I don't know everything. But these are my requirements. If you're animating anything big or important, you have to sit this one out. So anybody animating One Piece, anybody animating Dragon Ball, anything like that, bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye. You can't have it. You can't have it because we need a studio that's focused. We need a studio that's focused and passionate about the job. Are you the desire? They need to have the desire to actually care about what they're putting out. Don't give me nonsense frames. I don't want nonsense frames. Do you understand me? If you got other things to do, you got other things on your plate. This not the IP for you, baby, okay? Let me tell you. So I'm thinking more of like an indie studio, still talented, still capable of studying animation, but I want somebody hungry a little bit, like somebody with something to prove, dedicated, and also I want them to be edgier, like willing to push the envelope, because honestly, the way that I when I close my eyes and I visualize like certain fights in Magi, like oh my gosh, like when I when I see Hakuryu fight Arba, when I see Aladdin fight Arba, when I see Morgiana fight, oh my gosh, when I see certain fights, I want to see a certain animation style, and it needs to be better. It needs to be way better than Orient. It can't be animated in the way that like a lot of good animation is now, like maybe like a Demon Slayer or like a JJK. I don't want that animation style for Magi. It can't even look like how previous seasons of Magi looked. It can look like that, but like 10, like it needs to be like that needs to be the base, like that needs to be like the root, but it needs to be like 10 times better and edgier. Like it needs to be like more fluid than like a JJK animation. More creative. It just needs to be more creative, a little out there, It needs to I want the animation to like break your mind a little bit. Like break the mold of what you think good animation is. Almost, right? Again, I can't sit here and tell you what studio is going to be able to do that because I don't know. I want to hear it from you. Let me know something. What studio do you think could actually do Magi justice? Because I think that's a conversation that needs to be had, especially if you've read it like full in entirety. What studio do you recommend? Anyway, what we do when we get the demand, when we get the studio, we make Magi longer. We make Magi longer. Okay, here's something. This is something I feel very strongly about. The last few arcs of Magi were very rushed. They were very rushed, and Otaka herself has acknowledged this. The story deserved more time. I feel like the ending was still decent, but it could have been phenomenal, like the writing always is phenomenal. It deserved more time and space than it got on Shonen Jump. So if a studio picks this up, they don't have to be confined. You don't need to go panel for panel. Be very liberal. Be very liberal. Expand it. Flesh out arcs that were rushed. I feel like we need to, flesh out arcs that were rushed. Give characters the time that they deserve. Not only would that do the story justice, it means more episodes, more seasons, more money. More money, right? That's what y'all like. There's no downside to it. Give us the version of Magi that the story was always meant to be. That's really what the girls want to see. Okay. So, in order to make it longer, this is just like something fun that I have thought of. And maybe I'm not the only one to think about it, right? The backstory arc, the Solomon arc, run it simultaneously as the war arc. Is it right? Yes, run those two simultaneously. Now, this is why. The Solomon arc, if you're not familiar, there's an arc post anime in Magi that is entirely backstory. And I know what some of you were thinking, right? People's attention spans are short. They came for fights. They don't want to sit through a whole backstory arc. They don't want to hear about these characters that they only gonna know from one arc. You know what I mean? And I don't understand that. I loved that backstory arc. But I understand why some people may just want not to do that, right? Which is exactly why it can be a part of the canon in the same way as Senpai no Boyukin is a prequel, right? Don't make it a part of make the Solomon arc its own show almost. Same way Sinbad no Boyukin was. Give the Solomon arc its own standalone show. One season, 24 episodes. Yeah, one season, 30 if you're nasty. Done. And run it the same time as the main war arc. And I feel like this would work because in the main in that story you have in the backstory you have Aladdin telling you about Solomon and all these things, right? And then imagine you're watching the backstory about, Solomon, the old world, where magic came from, how it came to be what it is now. And at the same time, you're watching the war arc and you're watching other things and other dynamics unfold in real time. And you're able to make parallels between certain characters. If you catch my drift, you catch my drift, right? Everybody gets fed. The story lovers are fed. The people that like fights and action are fed. Everybody gets fed at the same time, and the two series get to feed into each other week into week and expands the lore and the lexicon, and it further immerses people, and you get to sell more toys, stuff, all that, yeah. Or maybe you could make a movie. No, don't do a movie. I don't want a movie. I want a season, 24 episodes. It could become a real thing, a real cultural moment. These are my suggestions, you know. What are your suggestions for how we get Emoji season 3? And this is for people that have hope. Don't come in my comments. Don't you dare come in my comments telling me, Emoji season 3 never gonna happen. No, I will never let it go. It's 2026. In 4 years, if we play our card right, in 4 years, 2020, 2030, we could be sitting down watching the first 5 episodes of Magi season 3. I truly believe that. I truly believe that. I believe the demand is there. People don't even know that the demand is there. People don't even know that the story that they're yearning for lies in Magi. And if the demand is not there yet, we can build it. And once we build it, anything is possible. Anything. Magi. Watch it, read it, talk about it. Make the edits, have the discourse. Be ignorant with it. Get ignorant with it. If you have to. Power scale, whatever it takes. If you want Magi back, we got to bring it back. We got to build it back brick by brick, and we gonna get it. Anyway, these are my thoughts. What are your thoughts? I definitely will be starting the campaign. You will be hearing from me in the future. We have to talk about the future of this channel in a second, but you will definitely hear more about Magi from me in the future. It's just that I care about Magi so much that when I sit and analyze these characters, I'm not gonna play with it. Do you understand? I'm not gonna play with it. I I'm not gonna play with it like how I play with One Piece. I play with One Piece. I play about One Piece. I do. I play about maybe other characters I've talked about. This is gonna be a big thing for. This is near and dear to me. Anyway, if you want to see more of me on this channel, you can see me in this corner. No, what corner? Hello. That's the corner. I would leave for like 3 days and I don't know anything. That's the corner there. All the places you can follow me are in the description. If you're watching this tonight, have a good night. If you're watching this any other time, have a good time. And if you haven't read Magi, watch it and then read it. Or do whatever you want to do. But I recommend watching and then reading. And then watching and then reading and then reading and then watching. And then falling in love and generating demand. Bye-bye.